Against this right back, Charlie, definitely.
Alright, people, smash the like button. I'm back again. Yeah.
I think it's like.
One more because I was ruining it. Because you always use that.
I think it's like.
People deluded, I'm back again.
Come on, Ian. Man. Come on. As the big man Ian Wright just said there, with an introduction like that, what more can I say? People deluded, I'm back again. Whether you're on YouTube, Twitter, or Twitch, appreciative to have you. Obviously, if you're on Twitch, make sure you're following on YouTube, vice versa. Make sure you're smashing the like button, subscribing, turning on notification bells, etc. Please tell me if you lot can hear me crystal clear, because I've actually moved my mic, people. It's out of shot, but I want to know if you lot can still hear me, or there's no point rambling, isn't it? Throughout the course of this live stream, we'll go over the transfer news. Granit Xhaka is giving an interview. I'm not going to lie, big up Granit Xhaka. It's well known I was a fan of his, but I just think you need to let it go now with this Arsenal stuff. You're always welcome back at the Emirates. Thank you for the memories. But how much time we're going to hear the story about Crystal Palace and the Arsenal fans, and I did this and I did that? It's long now, isn't it? Like, it's happened. You're gone. Keep it moving, really and truly. But yeah, man, as I said, smash the like button. Any questions, talking points, etc. Feel no sort of way about getting them in. You lot make the platform. Again, I'm actually just basically got home, people, and I'm actually not set up because I need to make sure I can actually see everything's going right from a YouTube perspective. Yeah, we're there. So yeah, man. Now we can carry on with what we're doing. Bro, better be talking about Joe. The sound quality is actually probably clearer now. Appreciate that, Ben. Appreciate you. American Gooner will check that out. My guy, our very own Roman Abramovich. Afternoon, Graham. Appreciate you. Afternoon, DG. Wouldn't mind Onana from Everton, if I'm being honest. I said on here a couple of weeks ago that I would go for him. You did, Graham. And I echoed that. Would he be my first choice? Probably not. But I think there's a lot to like about him. He's a lot younger than he looks. Obviously, you know, since Mikel Arteta has walked in fact, we've been better from set pieces and probably scored a couple more headed goals. But is there any coincidence that, you know, in the last 2 years or so, we've been really focusing on, you know, taking advantage of set pieces? Obviously, we've added a lot of height, and there's a correlation between us obviously scoring more from such situations. Onana fits the billing from that. You know, I can't tell you if Declan Rice has scored a header. I don't think he has, but he provides height. Obviously, he's on the younger side. He's fairly Premier League proven, Belgium international. We were being linked and buying a player, as you know, are completely different things, but we're linked with him from his days at Lille. So I'd imagine the club, whether we've changed staff, you know, Sanye, Emre, it's not quite the regime we're doing now. On a USB or on Microsoft Word somewhere, there must be a scouting report. So it makes sense. We've also been linked with Douglas Luiz, as you lot know, and Jacob Ramsey. I'm having Ramsey from Aston Villa, but Villa have to be crazy to let him go. And as we know, with the money in the game, with the money every Premier League team's got, him under contract probably rules it out in January, but you have to pay big money, you know. Take nothing away from Declan Rice. We owe West Ham probably some more money, and we owe West Ham fans a serious apology because they've been waffling about how great Declan Rice is. Take nothing away from Declan, as I said, but from a business point of view, if we didn't want to pay 100 million, we wouldn't have in it. So I think everyone comes with a premium. 65 million for Kai Havertz. You know, it's quite rosy in the last few games, but you get the point, you know. And when you're shopping around in the Premier League, as you lot know, it's expensive. And respectfully to Everton, how many players at Everton are universally sought by football fans or clubs? I'm not buying them. I'm really not trying to be disrespectful. But, you know, as I said, Aston Villa, you know, I'm sure people would take Camara. People wouldn't be necessarily against, you know, not me personally, but Konza, Emi Martinez wouldn't be short of admirers. Don't know if I said Douglas Luiz. Obviously, they've got Ollie Watkins. Buendia, I think, is injured and ain't really doing too much, but everybody was waffling about him. You know, Everton, who have they really got, really and truly? People might take Dwight McNeil. I'm not really keen on that. Onana's the one I'm keen on. So if Everton know that, then they're going to want big money for their prize asset. And I'm sure the more Arsenal keep doing what we're doing, you know, qualifying for the Champions League, getting through by God's grace to the proper latter stages of it, fighting for the Premier League. Obviously, from a lifestyle point of view, the London aspect is something. Culturally, obviously, we've got a diverse, young, mixed batch of players at Arsenal as well, as reflected in the fan base. I'm sure these are all things that could entice Onana to sign for Arsenal. But as you know, like much things in life, it comes down to the money, man. You put the money down, you can have what you want. You don't peak. Only thing Onana concerns me is yellows. And obviously discipline could be fixed up and things like that. But I think it's an occupational hazard. Obviously, Declan Rice and William Saliba, it weren't last week, was it the week before? They picked up their first yellow cards. But it's an occupational hazard. Of course, you know, Onana's not the finished article. I don't even know how old he is, but I don't think he's older than 25. So there's many things he can improve at. Obviously, you know, if he was the finished article, with the greatest of respect, the man wouldn't be at Everton, would he? He's 22. Again, looks much older than that, but that tells me he's impressionable. Obviously, he's 6'4". There's a lot to like about potentially signing Onana, who we've been linked with, but being interested in actually moving for a player, a completely different thing. Steve Cooper's been sacked, so Nottingham Forest are making changes. Maybe that means Nuno Tavares gets a new lease of life and can put himself in the shop window as well. People, Josh and Manny, appreciate you. Clement, big up yourself as well. I'm not surprised we're scouting Bellingham. We're also looking at Onana at Everton. Obviously, it's Bellingham's younger brother, and it's unfortunate for him in that, you know, your older brother is Jude Bellingham. He's playing for Real Madrid. The number whatever shirt got retired at Birmingham. Everyone's going to judge you under that premise rather than just accept you for your own person, really. And I actually think Jude Bellingham's mum and dad and their advisors, they're doing this thing properly, because you could imagine Jude Bellingham probably from 14, 15 years of age. The bigger Prem teams were probably trying to poach him off Birmingham. You know, when it became clear that he's a first-team player, I'm sure there was many Premier League clubs willing to take him. When he went to Dortmund, we saw Man United. They got Sir Alex Ferguson out, gave him the tour of Carrington, but that wasn't the right step for them. Now he's gone to Real Madrid at a great time where they've got young players and going from strength to strength. Obviously, you know, you look at the younger Bellingham. He was at Birmingham. He's gone to Sunderland, which, of course, is not as glamorous as Borussia Dortmund or Real Madrid, but he's getting games. And in fact, there's a couple of young players in and around Sunderland, so they're making money. So, yeah, man, the development of those young players is great, man. Creative title making for a second, I thought it was Jude. Do you know what? You got to do it, man. You know, I was speaking with an advisor and said your titling could be a lot better. So, yeah, man, obviously, we'd all love Jude Bellingham. Maybe when he's 70, he'll sign for Arsenal. Apart from that, it's probably a myth. Ooh, cough trying to kill me. Someone trying to stop the greatness here. Apologies, folks. And again, if you haven't hit the like button, you know what to do. But yeah, let's not waste any more time, man. Let's get straight into things. Again, smash the like button. Any comments throughout, feel no sort of way about getting them in. Now, I've quickly, just before I've gone live, tried to vaguely get to the meat pause of what Granit Xhaka is saying. Respectfully to him, big appreciation for Xabi Alonso, what he's doing as a manager. Leverkusen are flying high, but I don't really care, if I'm honest with you. I just want to know exactly what he's saying in relation to Arsenal. So I tried to scroll down quickly and things like that. And apparently, people, you know, apparently his wife didn't even want to even leave London. He said on him and his wife, to be honest, she was against it. Not against us going to Leverkusen, but against us leaving London. If you've lived in London once, you want to stay there, especially with the family. We thought a lot. What do we do with school? My kids were born there. They had so many friends. Kids will make new friends. But in the end, it was an easy decision for my wife and kids as well, because they saw the plan behind it. I didn't move here to play at being the boss or the manager, not at all. I came here to lead this young team a little bit, thanks to my experience at the top level abroad. That is great for you. Again, that focusing purely on the Arsenal-centric things, people. He then went over the Crystal Palace game, which I was there, and definitely in my, well, obviously I'm 28. Well, you know, let's just be easy. 28 years of supporting Arsenal. That was a low point. You know, there's many low points of Arsenal Football Club in terms of results, but I remember sitting in the ground. And, you know, around that time, we weren't getting results. The club wasn't what it is now. It weren't good. And for me, I remember sitting there like it's a pantomime. Like it's a joke at this moment in time. And I actually sat near fans saying F off Granit Xhaka. Xhaka saying F off back. People are moving crazy. Like, he shouldn't say that. I think there's three sides to every story. I think there's Xhaka's, fans, and obviously the truth. Should Xhaka have reacted like that? No, but it probably was the straw that broke the camel's back. Everyone has a breaking point. Happy that it ended a lot more positively, but it is what it is. He said, to this day, I can't really say what happened to me in that moment. A week earlier, I felt something was amiss during the game at Sheffield United. But when you play away, you don't really know who's whistling. I simply couldn't imagine it was our supporters. Palace was not a bad game from me. It wasn't. Not a top game either. It wasn't. I was surprised seeing my number up as captain in the 60th minute. I thought it was maybe a misunderstanding. Perhaps they thought I was peed off with the substitution. They booed me almost immediately. I thought, okay, it's me against 60,000. What do I do? Looking back, you regret some things, but maybe also happy that you did things. I'm still not sure, but I do know this, that day wasn't easy. To be honest, if I'm Granit Xhaka, I'm doing the same as well. I'll be brutally honest. I'm doing the same. Like you're all saying, I feel sorry for Xhaka. Well, let's be honest, he was scapegoated a lot. He wasn't perfect, but, do I think he ever went out there to give anything less than 100%? No. Do I think he cared about the club and the fans and his teammates and he wears his heart on his sleeve? It's got to hurt. 60-odd thousand fans. Well, this is Xhaka. I know you don't care, but I was there. I was not doing any of that. I was in disbelief. I was like, I can't believe we're not winning. I can't believe the form we're in. I can't believe I even drew myself out, bought money on the ticket and put myself in the stadium. I can't believe what Xhaka is doing. I can't believe anything, people. So, yeah, of course, again, results. If we're talking Arsenal low points results-wise, 2006, but I was proud in that game. It's just that we got robbed and we didn't win the Champions League. There was a couple of League Cup finals against Chelsea, the Europa League against Chelsea, the 8-2 against Manchester United, the Drummonds from Bayern Munich, Arsene Wenger getting rubbed out against Chelsea in his, 1,000th game. Koscielny bottling it against Birmingham, same way he bottled it against Atletico Madrid. Don't mind me, I'm slandering Koscielny purely because I'm never going to forget that exit video you did where you pulled off the Arsenal shirt and threw on the other one. And I mean, Koscielny, boy, you got headlocked by Adair in the Euro final. You got dropped out of the French squad. They won the World Cup. Boy, Koscielny, my back foot. But anyways, people, I don't blame Xhaka for doing any of that. And then he said, for me, in all honesty, it's part of sport. Sometimes you're up, sometimes you're down. But for my family up in the stands, it was like a slap in the face. It hurt me more because it hurt them so much. I'll never forget how bad my parents felt, how my wife felt, which, of course, it's going to hurt. I was convinced I would get through it all. But for my parents and my wife, it was hell. My agent was also in the ground. We were supposed to meet the club about a new contract. 2 days later, that never happened, of course. Blood. I had many black days sitting in my hotel room for away games, realizing what happened. Fair enough. Not talking to... We're trying to focus on what he's actually said. I didn't want them to feel bad because they were more worried about me than I was. Perhaps they also wanted to protect me and not bring back those thoughts, but I was completely devastated. Then he said, the club showed me little respect, even though I was the captain. It was clear they wanted to get rid of me as quickly as possible, apart from one person, Mikel Arteta, which, Arteta's shown he'll make difficult decisions. The world didn't want Ramsdale, Benjamin White, Granit Xhaka to stay, Aubameyang to leave. The jury's still out, but Kai Havertz to sign for this club. And now, look, again, the manager's not always right, but I don't think you should always listen to fans. So, yeah, it is interesting. He said the club showed him little respect, though. I don't know what he specifically means by that, but he did say it nonetheless. And what does he mean by that? Does he believe he should have got a contract at the point? I don't know, people. He said, when I met him for the first time, my bags were already packed. We've heard this story before. And I was about to hop on a plane with my heart and soul. I'd already left the club. I said to him, the solution is for me to go. Arteta told me he wanted me to stay, but I wasn't sure. I remember speaking to my dad at the time. He told me, let's go. For the first time, he told me to run away. He said there was no future for me at Arsenal. I can't blame him, it's peak. I couldn't imagine myself playing for Arsenal again. I said to him, I just want to be somewhere where the fans don't boo me. But he was so convincing. For the first time in my life, I took the decision without talking to my family first. I got up and said, okay, I'll stay. We embraced. And from that day on, I returned to training. And it was like nothing quite happened. Fair enough, people. And then he said, it was as if I was playing for Arsenal for the first time. I'll never forget Thomas Partey coming up to me before kickoff saying, it doesn't matter what happens, I'm with you. This happened in the match the following season. It was a new chapter, a new beginning for me. Mikel picked me up and brought me back to playing at a level I always knew I could play at. He was sure of my quality and didn't care what anyone else said. Did he not want him at City? Rumours said. 4 years later, it ended with me almost scoring a hat-trick against Wolves in the final game of the season, which is lovely. It was a goosebumps moment. I can't describe in words how happy my family were hearing that after everything that had gone on before. And I don't think Arsenal fans will forget what Xhaka did, even though I don't think he's wrong. I don't think Granit Xhaka will forget. But it's nice to see when you actually left the club to when you was projected to leave the club. Crazy. Xhaka a legend though. I like Granit Xhaka, but I have seen on Twitter Xhaka described as an Arsenal legend. I'm not trying to be condescending, but you have to be younger than 28 years of age. You probably have to be in your teens, maybe at a push early 20s. You know, had we have won the league, our first league title in the Emirates era, I'd still be very wary of calling several players legends or legendary, but they'd have a strong case. And it's not even just a trophies thing, because what did, you know, Cesc won a couple of things here, but what did he really do? He's more of a legend. What did Granit Xhaka do that is legendary? Legend's a massive statement. Fair enough, if I'm honest, but you know, everyone's entitled to their own opinion. Moving all the way down, people apparently talked to Edu, who's Arsenal sporting director, who told him that Arsenal were not ready to give him a new contract at the moment. Leverkusen didn't want to force the issue too much out of consideration for him, and with Arsenal being involved in a title race, but his mind was quickly made up. So yeah, Arsenal weren't giving you a contract. You moved to Germany, a country you know. Your family can set up roots. You're probably going to get a long-term deal at Leverkusen. It's an exciting, quote-unquote, project. Fair enough, really. On one hand, I was a bit sad that Arsenal didn't want to extend. And you were a vital player. I'm not going to lie. I would have loved to have had Granit Xhaka for one more season and then naturally replaced him. But on the other hand, I was also quite happy because I didn't like that uncertainty. Fair enough. Leverkusen's plan for me was very clear. Leaving Arsenal after 7 years wasn't easy on an emotional level after all the good and bad things, but it was totally the right decision. I'm happy it worked out so well. Mikel showed me a whole new way of looking at football by focusing on the basics, the stuff from your teenage years you may have forgotten: pressing, body shape, positioning, movement, coming out of someone's cover shadow, communication on the pitch. Xavi is so similar. The Spaniards see football differently than others, I think. When I heard Xavi speak about his ideas for the first time, I thought I've done this before under Mikel. It's a different coach, but the same philosophy. I'll tell you, if you ever want to leave Xabi Alonso, I know you're probably trying to go Bayern Munich, Real Madrid, or Liverpool, but just let us have a conversation and see what's going on. Allegedly, Alonso is more hands-on in training. He runs more than some of the players. So, yeah, Xabi Alonso is probably not fully integrated into retirement. But, yeah, man, let's scroll the way down. Apparently, he said, you have to keep your feet on the ground. We were super close with Arsenal last year, but we couldn't keep up. You need a bit of luck. I'm certain that we would have won the league if we hadn't have lost Saliba to a season-ending injury in March and Partey, who missed 4 starts around then, including a home defeat to City. It's the same thing here. If we all stay fit and healthy and nothing stupid happens, we can stay up there for a good while longer. Do your thing. Apparently, he says he has no regrets about leaving Arsenal. Apparently, he still talks to Arsenal's assistant, Arteta's assistant, Carlos Cuesta, you know, and Granit Xhaka has done his coaching badges, and he's still friends with Gabriel Jesus, Cedric Suarez, Zinchenko, and obviously Thomas Partey. And apparently he still watches as many games as possible and would love us to win the Premier League. And apparently him and his wife will be at the game against West Ham on, well, next Thursday, I believe. He then spoke about Kai Havertz, and he said, I know what it's like for Kai. When people on the outside are a little bit nervous and the fans get restless, you just need to stay calm. It's a new position for him, and it takes time to fully understand Mikel's philosophy. But he's getting better all the time, and his confidence is coming back now. Everyone knows his potential, but having the confidence of your club, your manager, and your teammates is everything. You always need that backing. And then he also said, Arsenal supporters sometimes can take a bit of persuading to change their mind, but at the end, I won them around. I hope for Kai that he will do the same and that the critics will eat their words. Amen. Shout out to yourself, Riley. I think Xhaka will be a coach. I don't know for management, but yeah. Do you think Leverkusen can do it, or will Bayern breeze them down the line? I mean, I guess as long as you're up there, you have to go with a fight. But Leverkusen need to take lessons from Dortmund, innit? Who were in literally a whisker, like coming like mine, within a whisker of winning the Bundesliga and what happened there. So they just need to keep going, really. If you're not on Riviera and guys like that, don't talk to me about legends. Xhaka, big up though. I'm intrigued to see how the midfield would have worked with Xhaka, Rice, and Odegaard. I think it would have cooked, assuming the Granit Xhaka of last season stayed the same. I think Granit needed to stay. Obviously, not renewing his contract. He wanted to leave. It is what it is. But I would have loved Granit to stay just for this quote unquote transitional period. We're back in the Champions League, etc. Whatever you say about Granit Xhaka, when the going gets tough, he's on it. Like Granit Xhaka is someone that if you're in a nightclub and someone starts on you, he's backing you, really. Some man might run away. Obviously, right now, we don't really miss Xhaka that much, especially with Kai Havertz turning it around and things. But I think Xhaka would have been lit. And I think one underrated aspect of Granit Xhaka is his durability. The man's always fit. That is the best trait you could have, especially for a team that I assume we want to compete in the 3 trophies we're left in. And I would have loved to have gone further in the League Cup. Obviously, it weren't meant to be. I've been looking at midfielders, and I think Thuram would be a perfect signing, can play 8 and a 6. I like him winning ways. He's currently injured at the moment, man, if I'm honest. Personally, I get Xhaka arguing with the fans. I would have done the same, but end of the day, the past is the past. There you have it. All you can do is draw a line under the sun. Martinelli still misses Xhaka. This Havertz support striker thing has changed the dynamic, but Nelly should be doing more either way. Granit is someone I would have kept over Partey. Honestly, if you replaced him since with Granit, he barely gets injured. I hear that. But yeah, that's that where Granit Xhaka is concerned. I don't know if you would have known. I did cover this in a video prior, people, but allegedly Arsenal recruit Real Madrid scout Paulo Javier. Paulo Javier has left his role at Real Madrid, the Latin America scout, to join Arsenal. Apparently he's been at Real Madrid since 2017 and he's now joined us. Obviously, let's get it done, man. Go and find the players from Latin America and South America. Obviously, work permits don't help English clubs, but let's go and get these players. They've got to start somewhere, or any other continent. Now, again, we're still linked with several things, people. Kind of trying to skim read the Daily Mail's article and just talk about the relevant parts, people. Apparently, they're in obviously Arsenal. Interest in centre forward Ivan Toney is no secret, but splashing around 80 million on the Brentford striker just months after spending close to 200 million on Rice, Havertz, Timber, and David Raya is likely to be too tall in order. Don't forget to smash that like button. That's not to say another marquee signing is out of reach, but whether they add to their squad is likely to depend on recouping money from outgoings. The Mail Sport understands that Arsenal are currently telling prospective buyers that they aren't open for business, but there's a feeling among Premier League clubs that their stance is more posturing rather than a hard and fast rule. Of course, you're going to keep your cards close to your chest unless it's obvious that a club is going to move someone on in January. You're going to say they're not for sale and things like that. Obviously, if we're able to bring in players and players that we thought weren't available become available, we've got more money than we assumed. When these sort of things at play start to become something, then that's a thing. But as we know, January is a reactive market. No, I don't think any manager wants to sign anyone in January because you would have done what you need to do in the summer. It's a reactive market. Some players need to go on loan. Some are not happy with their first team football. Obviously, contracts are running down. Managers are having bust-ups. Obviously, in Arsenal's case, we're reacting to injuries in centre mid and defence, where we've seen this story before, really. So how many times do we have to stand in the rain and complain that we're wet before we buy a jacket? I don't know. But apparently among the players attracting interest is Eddie Nketiah, who, given his status as an academy product, would be registered as pure profit in terms of FFP accountancy. I'm not going to lie, I don't let Eddie Nketiah go in January. I think the squad needs to stay. Is there a world where, in theory, players that have been linked, I wouldn't really want Partey to go, but Partey, am I open to letting him leave? Yes. Am I open to letting El Nene and Jorginho and Eddie Nketiah and I don't know, but Smith Rowe and Nelson and all these guys, I'm open to letting them go. But for me, unless we're making sure we've got depth, unless we're replacing and bettering them in January, forget about it. Eddie Nketiah, whatever you say about the guy, he has improved. Mikel does like him. He's shown he can do a job. Is he the man to bet on? Is he the man to push the needle and get us closer to a title? Of course not. But as we've seen with Jesus' injuries, we need Eddie to stay. If we bring in a striker in Jan, Eddie, see you later. As it says there, Eddie Nketiah, I believe, has established himself as a Premier League level player. We'd make 100% profit in terms of FFP. Obviously, if you bring in a forward, thank you for the service, Eddie Nketiah. You've worn the number 14, scored in the Champions League, scored in the Prem, gave us some good memories, become a starter at times. Do your thing. But the way we're going, if you're not becoming levels, then things need to happen. But in January, I'm not with it. He has been linked with Brentford and obviously Crystal Palace. Maybe with Brentford, there's something to do for Eddie Nketiah. But even that, obviously Eddie's fairly young for a striker. Best days in front of him, shown his Premier League level and stuff like that. How much would Arsenal want, and would clubs be prepared to pay for him? Because again, I think if you give Eddie a platform, he could score goals. I'm not saying he would have eclipsed Balogun, but had he went on loan, had he went on loan just like Balogun last year, I reckon Eddie bags in the French league. But if you're a team that's trying to stay in the Premier League, you're a top 10 side trying to push into Europe, you're a top 4 side trying to push above that. Eddie hasn't really been given a platform to do such with an extended run in the team, but has he shown you anything to suggest that he will be that guy? I don't know, essentially. So it's a difficult one. And I think in another alternative universe, if we brought in another striker and you got Jesus, I wouldn't be against loaning out Eddie Nketiah for a couple of seasons. If he becomes a madman, then we've got another great player. If he becomes good but not quite good enough, then obviously we're in a stronger position to get decent money, which, as you know, could be reinvested, people. But yeah, Eddie Nketiah, obviously, he's a marginalised figure. You're not going to add to your one England cap with the current way things are going at Arsenal. But yeah, allegedly, the club have already knocked back at least one inquiry from a top-flight side ahead of the transfer window for Nketiah. player. Ramsdale is another one being courted, but Arsenal would prefer the England international to stay at least until the end of the season. We all know Gareth Southgate is kind of scaring him in that you might not be on the plane to Germany if you're not getting regular football. So all our eyes are on Ramsdale to see if he, ignites for a move away from the club in January in some capacity, people. There is a recognition that signing a goal scorer next month could make a difference in their quest for glory, but signing strikers is easier in the summer. Ivan Toney isn't the only striker being mentioned. Victor Osimhen, who last week signed a new contract at Napoli with a £112 million release clause, is among those being coveted. Aston Villa striker Ollie Watkins is another one. But there is a view at Arsenal that any available funds in January would be better spent on central midfield and defence. I think a striker is of equal importance, but I think we're more equipped to deal with things up front. Eddie could, I'm not saying these are the answers, but Eddie, Havertz, Trossard, Martinelli, they could do a thing. Centre mid, one more injury, even Jorginho's picked up a knock or ill now. We're in trouble. Defense, we could definitely do with an extra defensive body. The highly anticipated return to fitness of Thomas Partey would reduce the necessity to sign a midfielder next month. How long's Partey going to be there? Be back for 3 games, be amazing. And we've seen this story before. But the injury problems that have plagued the 30-year-old since his arrival in 2020 have cast doubt over his long-term future. Arsenal already planning for life without Partey, whose contract expires in 18 months. So similar to Granit Xhaka, I personally believe that obviously if Partey forms out of this world, he could sway decisions. But when you look at the fact that Saka, Saliba, Martinelli, Odegaard, Benjamin White and Ramsdale, who weren't contracted until 2024, have all signed new deals. It has to have been on a whiteboard in some capacity at London Coley about Partey's contract. I would like him to stay for 1 more year. I understand if the club, again, keywords are if the club replace him, letting him go next summer. I just think the fact of his age, his wages, and mainly the fact that you're never confident with him being fit. To be fair, he was fit for 40 appearances last season. That was probably an anomaly because how many times, you forget Thomas Partey is at the club. So that's probably something in that regards. Aston Villa midfielders, Douglas Luiz and Jacob Ramsey are highly rated by recruitment staff. You need to spend highly rated money for them. Paulinho is another one who is under consideration, but at 28, his profile doesn't fit the club's recruitment strategy. Everton's Onana is being watched closely. Fair enough, people. And we all know Timber, Fabio Vieira, Jorginho, Tomiyasu, and obviously Thomas Partey. They're all dealing with injuries to various degrees. So we'll have to see, man. 24 years of age, can't push the Brazilian striker, and best season is 5 goals in the Premier. Better than this. I'm all upgrading on Eddie Nketiah. For me, you're nothing more than a squad player. And I'm not saying that to diss him. You need a squad. How many times, for instance, if we got Ivan Toney or Jesus start scoring, them man are going to get 20-odd goals. Eddie might only score 5, but his 5 goals could be a winner in a top 6 game against City. It could be a game on the last game of the season. You need a squad. You look at Jesus and Zinchenko, there were times at City where they came into it. I'm not forcing Eddie Nketiah out, but naturally we need to upgrade on that role. Naturally, I do think you're a sellable asset. And when you look at Arsenal, how many sellable assets are there? Obviously, you've got Saka, Saliba, Martinelli, Odegaard, but nobody wants to sell them. Players that you're open to leaving. How much money is Tierney going to fetch? And why wasn't he gone permanently last summer? Even though I don't want Tierney to go. Smith Rowe, even if he is available, is he going to get the same fee that he might have when he was one of the first names on the team sheet? Ramsdale, anything from 35 to 50 million is decent. Partey, I think the club will look at it as in a sense of if we can get a fee and his wages are gone, that's fine. Balogun was gone last summer. Fair enough. Whatever you think about Balogun, he played 10 times or so for Arsenal. Barely got a look in. 30-odd million quid in a sell-on clause. We keep it moving. And, even though we've been waffling about a striker, and I want Balogun to develop and become one of the best in the world, not one Arsenal fan has sat here and said, bring back Balogun. So it's been decent. Apparently, Andre, who's been linked with Liverpool, Fulham, Barcelona, now on Arsenal, the Fluminense midfielder, apparently said it's his dream to go to the Premier League. You'd imagine he's one that's available in the winter market. There has been some rumours that Royal Antwerp midfielder, teenage midfielder, and Belgium international Vermeeren is drawing interest, and his lawyer is talking to clubs. Apparently, Andre said, for sure, Barcelona and Real Madrid are 2 big clubs, but I think I would choose Barcelona. I watched the Premier League and it's a big dream to play there one day. I'm focused on finishing the season with Fluminense and realizing our own dream of winning the Club World Cup. But my dream is clear to be a Premier League player. Apparently, he's got a 30 million price tag. We'll have to watch that one closely, people. Ivan Toney's transfer forces Arteta to make Arsenal departures calls as asking price spirals. Arsenal are likely to sell in order to buy if they want to reach a deal for Ivan Toney. I mean, if Eddie Nketiah's got a goal to bring in Toney, make it happen, people. Apparently, the Gunners could delay a deal for Arthur Vermeeren and look at loan options for their midfield because of the financial limitations they set on themselves this winter. I mean, what, are we running back Danny Ceballos or Kim Kallström again? Fair enough, people. We all know Tony's return to playing first team football is looking likely. Apparently, Arsenal have had their eye on him since the beginning of this calendar year and hope that he would be attainable in 2024 for around 50 million. If he's going to be close to that, surely it's in the summer because he's got 18 months left on his deal. Arsenal have not yet fully committed to their winter business plans, but if they do decide to pursue Tony, they'll also have to look into player sales to balance the books. Eddie Nketiah could be one, unless Fabio Vieira really lays down a marker. He could be one as well. Apparently, Arsenal are also reportedly one of 3 clubs tracking teenage sensation J.Bellingham. Apparently, the younger Bellingham has impressed for Sunderland this season, and Chelsea, Liverpool, and Arsenal scouts are all monitoring. Scouting doesn't mean making a move. And to be honest with you, if you're Bellingham, I couldn't begrudge him for being enticed by joining Arsenal, Liverpool, or Chelsea. But does it make sense? You're getting game time minutes are currency. Yes, Stadium as Light is not as glamorous as living in London and what Arsenal and Chelsea and Liverpool are doing, but it makes sense to stay until you're not the finished article, but you're significantly more experienced because you're just going to be a number. Definitely at Chelsea, you're just going to be a number, a talented kid. If you play first team, you do your thing, you probably be loaned out, and they're just looking at you as a money maker. We buy you for a couple million, we sell you for a lot. Apparently, Arsenal also said to be considering a move for £51 million rated Bournemouth striker Dominic Solanke if a deal for Ivan Toney can't be done. I don't know about that one there, my guy, but fair enough, people. Apparently, Brentford have hinted they may be resigned to losing Ivan Toney after technical director Lee Dykes admitted it could soon be time to move him on from the Bees. Apparently, speaking to Brentford Club Media in a deep dive interview, said, yes, there will be lots of interest in Ivan in January. Naturally, there should be. He was the 3rd highest Premier League goal scorer last season. One of them was Harry Kane. He has gone to Germany now, so he's up there as one of the best strikers in the division. He's in the top 5 in the world, in my opinion. So that tells me they want big money. Isn't Ivan Toney top 5 striker? I don't know about that. In the Prem, maybe. I don't know about that. I know Haaland's there. Kane's there. If we're talking world, Haaland, Kane. Do you know what? Should we throw Ottoman into that? I don't know. Maybe he's got a case. Let me know you lot's thoughts, and don't forget to smash the like button. So there should be interest, and maybe the time comes very shortly that Ivan moves on to another club. But they'll have to pay a decent transfer fee to acquire his services because he's some talent. I think everybody knows that. We're not going over the Granit Xhaka thing again. Hopefully, this is the last time we see Granit Xhaka news with Arsenal. Respect to him, but it's happened now. Big up Saka because he's donating to charitable causes in Morocco. Big him up for that one. We've signed the Real Madrid scout, as we said. Ramsdale's been linked with moves away. Nobody cares what Jermaine Pennant has said. So, yeah, we won't waffle on that one too much. Romano on Toney has said, people. Of course, Arsenal are aware of Ivan Toney's stance. It's not about telling him Arsenal. It's not about him telling Arsenal that he wants to join them. But of course, they know the player would like to join. But there's still the price tag issue, as we've said many times. Also, Toney has always been very respectful to Brentford. So it depends on the clubs reaching an agreement. And if Arsenal move for Toney, then that rules out being in the race for Osimhen, in my opinion, in the summer. Thomas Partey has been linked with Barcelona. Says Mundo Deportivo. Thomas Partey is one of the names that could fit in at Barcelona until the end of the season to compensate for Gavi's loss. Arsenal want to sell him in January. Barcelona, about a bit like us, you hear they're broke. They're struggling with FFP. Doesn't make much sense. Big up Junior and the channel members. As he said, come on, folks, smash the like button. Just because of their void in midfield, it doesn't make sense. Partey's going to want decent contract, decent terms of length of contract. It doesn't make sense. Really, I think that's creative journalism, if I'm honest with you. Allegedly, our top summer target is Douglas Luiz. Arsenal are set to push to land Douglas Luiz next summer. Sources have told Football Insider. Allegedly, a well-placed source has told Football Insider that a January swoop for the Brazil international looks impossible, with Villa set to ask for around 100 million for his signature. But it is believed Arsenal sporting director Edu is a big fan of his countryman, who also has a lot of admirers at the Emirates Stadium. Fresh funds will be available for new signings at the end of the season, and worries over FFP will also be obviously quashed, allowing the Gunners to go all out and push for their top priority target. And you'd imagine with the money we got for qualifying for the latter stage of the Champions League, let alone winning our games, for context, last time I checked, you make a lot more coming out of the group stages in the Champions League than actually winning the Europa League. So, with us, assuming we get Champions League football again, earning a lot of money, obviously there'll probably be some players gone. You'd imagine that, we can do something there. Arsenal also keen on a potential move for Paulinho in 2024, but Luiz is the #1 target. Arteta's side are desperate for central midfield reinforcements, despite spending a club record fee to land England international Declan Rice just months ago. Fair enough. And, you know, if Kai Havertz keeps doing what he's doing in the 8, you've got Declan Rice. I think you need another 8 and you need another 6. And then the Fabio Vieira, Smith Rose, these guys, you know, you lot can do what needs to be done. Thomas will go on loan and 0 chances he can. What? I'm not sure what you said there, Ben. Won't Osimhen be cup tied? I'm not sure what you're referring to there, but I wouldn't imagine so. Would you rather Tony and Jan or Osimhen in the summer? Osimhen in the summer, but then again, you know what? If Ivan Tony can bring something close to 20 league goals, obviously be up against it. Tony can make the difference between winning a Prem now or whatever, but I think, you know, Osimhen just fits us what we're trying to do long term. So I'm not quite sure. I think we've spoken over Douglas Luiz, and I don't want to keep echoing the same things. What have we got here? Apparently, Sam Hayboy has been appointed Arsenal's loan manager following the departure of Ben Napier to Norwich. Hayboy has been at the club since 2014, has the experience of working as a match analyst. So big up him on the career progression. Big up Gabriel. It's his 26th birthday today. Shout out the most underappreciated player, I believe, in this Arsenal team. We've already spoken about Andre. Berbatov, the man himself, has said Havertz reminds him of himself. Fair enough. Fair enough. Couldn't believe it. So you saw 2 tabs there. Apparently, Arsenal are preparing to make an effort to sign Sporting defender Gonzalo Inacio in the January market. I mean, I'm sure we've been pointing towards his release clause. We've been linked with a lot of Sporting players, people. Apparently, he's one of the most coveted players at Sporting, having developed into a key player for the side over 18 months. We've seen him play against us. I think he's brave. Obviously, he's a left-sided centre-half. He's better than Kirill, with the greatest of respect. I wouldn't mind it, but I can't see us shelling out that in January. What's this? Not quite sure. Kenan Yildiz has been linked with Liverpool. I only mention him because he was linked with us as well, so we'll have to watch that. Apparently, Brentford actually are open to signing Kirill, so they've been linked with Nketiah, Kirill. We've been linked with Tony. Let's talk, let's barter, let's see what can be done, really and truly. You know, as you know, Roma, Lazio, Napoli, AC Milan have all been linked with Kirill. Apparently now, as you can see here, Nice in France, and obviously there's Brentford. Kirill, you're not going. You know, if Arteta wants to let you go, fair enough, but kind of goes back to what I'm saying in that, would I be open to offers generally for Kirill and Nketiah or Jorginho? It kills me. Maybe Smith Rowe and maybe Partey and these guys. But in January, there's too much turnover. Arteta just said the other week, when you hit March, you need about 20-odd players, and half of these guys can't stay fit, but you get the point. I wouldn't let Kirill go, but I could understand if he did want to go and play first-team football, because you've got Zinchenko ahead of you at left-back, Timber and missing him out, Timber and Tomiyasu ahead of you over there, in my opinion. Gabriel and Saliba are 2 quality centre-backs, and they have a great partnership. You know, you did play in midfield at a point in Italy. I don't think Arteta is keen on that, so you're going to have to be patient, really, and it's difficult when you're not getting a run of games to take your chances, but I don't think he weren't terrible against Luton, but I don't think he did anything to suggest Arteta needs to give you an extended run in the side. And he was quite terrible against PSV. The only time Kirill's got an extended run is obviously when there was injuries, and, you know, ifs and buts, and going back in time is a strong thing. But I've always wondered, like last season, when our season kind of went down the toilet in that last sort of stretch, what would have happened if Kirill came in before Rob Holding? Maybe Arteta wasn't himself convinced that Kirill was necessarily ready. I don't know. Kirill swap deal with Hickey. Let's see what we can get for Hickey first, innit? Like, what would be the price tag? But I wouldn't be against bringing another flying Scotsman. Apparently, you know, Chelsea are not interested in signing Aaron Ramsdale. We've been linked with Solanke as well. Boy, I'm not too sure about that, man. But I'll give Mikel Arteta the benefit of the doubt. Completely irrelevant. But apparently, Jota, Gravenberch and McAllister are all back ahead of schedule for Saturday's game. We'll deal with that then. Kai Havertz explains how Arsenal have handled his poor form, allegedly, people. What specifically has he said? Every footballer probably feels more confident on the pitch when everyone is praising him. Everyone is screaming his name and everyone thinks he's great. But I know that this is not reality, that you're the hero one weekend and the idiot the next. I think we know enough by now. Fair enough. And he said, of course, my self-confidence suffered a bit from time to time. Nevertheless, I believe that I'm now so strong that I can work my way out of such depths. Big up you, Kai, man, because you want to hear that with every human being, let alone footballer. You can't please everyone anyways. Sometimes they like you, sometimes they don't like you. I'll tell me about, as a content creator, I'm not even going to say the user's name, but there's one of you that comments all of my YouTube videos, yeah? And big up Shoots. comments, hella praise. I did one video with Troops. He's like, I'm not following anymore. You've got a ranter on the show. Like, what's all of that, man? And, you know, when Troops is ready, we have him again. But that just shows you, you know, 1 minute they hate you, then they love you again, innit? So I definitely get it. So yeah, I hear that really and truly. Sometimes they like you, sometimes they don't like you, and I accept that. As long as the people around me are happy with me, that's enough for me. And it's true, fans were allowed our opinion, but reality is, you know, in life, it's what God thinks of you, it's how you think of you, and it's your, you know, doesn't mean the fans are wrong, but if the manager believes in you and your teammates believe in you, then in theory, everything will come into place, essentially, people. You won't be the first or the last player that isn't convincing initially and has proved fans wrong. And I still don't necessarily think that. I like the direction Kai is taking a turn in. I do think he's looked a lot more settled than in this sort of real period. I think he settled a long time ago, but now he's starting to be a bit more decisive in actions and looks a lot more confident. We don't care about his price tag right now, and we haven't spoken about Granit Xhaka. And the jury is still out on Kai Havertz, but nobody's sitting here and saying, oh, you know what, he's flop of the season and he's a waste of money and this, that, and the third, really and truly. And at least for now, that new look midfield, to a degree, it looks like the pennies dropped off Odegaard, Kai Havertz, and Declan Rice, which, while we probably wanted to see Odegaard, Partey, and Rice, we all probably knew long term or in general, that's what Mikel Arteta wanted to roll with. So yeah, he said it was made clear to me from the beginning that everyone would give me the time to fit in well. And even after 2 or 3 bad games, the coach came to me and said, hey, everything is fine. Soon something will click and then it will happen. And then, yes, in time, it's happened, people. He said, I'm someone who puts his ego aside and will play for the team and in the position I need. And I agree with that from Kai, man. I think he's really much a team player. He fights for the cause. You know, he's a lot more rugged than he might look. He looks like a pretty boy, but he's down for the cause. When I play, I give my all, no matter where. And I also think that I understand the game quite well, so I can fill many positions. I want to see you become a master of that left-sided 8, though, you know, because you've been a household name, respectively, for a while. And we still don't really know what you are. You've played as a false 9. You've played out wide. You've played in midfield. Let's keep doing what we're doing in midfield. Establish yourself as a left-sided 8. Then you can do all these other things. It's like Trossard. You know, my man's a left winger, but he can play in the 10, play either flank, play up front. Some of you are with Trossard playing as an 8. I'm not on that, but you get the point. And then he also said on Gabriel Jesus, I love playing with him because I think he sees the game the same way I do. And that's why we get along very, very well on the pitch, but also off the pitch. Fair enough. And I swear, you set each other up a bit. And he's also said, I'm just happy to be able to play this European Championship, hopefully, and to be able to play successfully. I will now do everything I can this season to prepare myself as well as possible and to be in my best possible condition. I mean, ideal world is you win a Premier or Champs or FA Cup for Arsenal. And, you know, I'd rather the England boys win the Euros, but, you know, someone can bring it home. Why not, people? So, yeah, and we've already gone over that as well. Don't mind me, people. I was just trying to find. I can't reveal it, but I went and done a show today, and I was trying to find like my show reel and stuff. But yeah, we've been linked with Onana. We've seen this already, but let's see if we haven't missed anything else out. Let's see if there's any other news for us. I mean, Ramsdale gone over that. Let's see what this is saying. We know what we've already read. Arsenal are planning for life without Partey. No, I mean, we're looking at Onana. We were linked with him last season. We were following him during his time at Lens. So doesn't feel like there's anything new there. Can we not try and coax the Saudi dons into buying Cedric, Partey, Pepe, and El Nene and Jan? Pepe's gone long time, my guy. I think El Nene will stay. Cedric, boy, I think Cedric wants to run down his deal. And I think if the money's right, Partey can cut really and truly. And Cedric, boy, might have to show my intro clip and pretend that is Cedric Suarez. 50 likes, you lot are stingy, man. Big up to you lot who've hit the like button anyways. Shout out to you, Terry. Saw that Gabriel's been statistically better than Saliba this season. Just goes to show how underrated he is. I mean, everyone's going to look average next to Gabriel, but I think they complement each other well. I think there's times Saliba has bailed out Gabriel. I think Gabriel's bailed him out well. I think, you know, sometimes, obviously, Gabriel can be a bit gracious and Saliba can be aggressive, but Gabriel's the aggressor. Saliba is obviously the more gracious one. Obviously, he's the one with the higher ceiling to a degree, but I think they're both quality centre-backs in their own right in the Premier League and in world football. And in terms of centre-back partnerships, I'm not saying it's the best in world football, but it's definitely up there. Speaking of sporting players and us being linked to a few, what do you make of their striker? Seems all right. I must admit, I'm still turning up my nose though, man. Someone slipped something a bit stronger in one of Berbatov's sigs, but maybe a bit of vodka, man. Osman is like Nunez times 10 with great finishing. Boy. We want money for Partey, not a loan, so not to Barca. I'd rather not have Tony Osman in the summer, would be a better prospect, especially considering the ban Tony has been on. What's to say it won't happen again? I mean, don't get caught in it, really and truly. Would prefer Paulinho over Luiz in midfield. Pardon me, I'm happy with either. You know, I think if you sign Paulinho, we might be able to get to see a bit more of Declan Rice in the 8. Obviously, Paulinho's been there, done it, and wore the T-shirt in terms of what a number 6 ball-winning midfielder is in the Premier League and is in world football. Douglas Luiz, I think he can be as an 8, he could be as a 6. I think the set-piece coaches would like him because he can deliver greatly from dead ball scenarios. Obviously, we've been linked with him for Fingy for a couple of years now, and apparently he's admired by Edu, by Arteta, and everybody. So if he is, and we've scouted him, he should be a hit. So and he's obviously a bit younger as well. So I'd prefer Luiz in it. And that's not me looking down on Paulinho, because I do think people look and say, oh, 28, scary and stuff. Obviously, you are in that reality at 28. If he's here at 32 on big wages, you've got a decision to make. But, you know, 28 years of age, bro, for 3-4 years, you could still play at a high level. And even with Paulinho, obviously fitness and to a degree, pace to a degree for a Premier League footballer is relevant. And naturally, you're going to decline. But it's not like his skill set is just focused around being mad quick, like on some Theo Walcott thing. So it's more on intelligence and reading the game and the rest of it. So I wouldn't be against him. Osman wins us the league, and I think we get to the final in the champs. I disagree, because I think a single player can help us, but I don't think one player unless it's Lionel Messi, and even him, really, you know, he couldn't help PSG win a Champions League. I think it's more of a mentality thing. I think as much as we've got to bring in an 8, a 6, a defensive body, a striker, and a winger, it's about taking that mentality to the next level. You know, we dealt with Brighton and there was a lot of positives, and we battered Sheffield United, but them games should have been put to bed in the first half. We need to, you know, have less of them Fulhams and Spurs and Chelsea games. I think Arsenal, as much as there's weaknesses in our side and things we can improve, I think we're ticking along, but I still think we have this element of making things harder than it needs to be. And if, you know, we still got a young squad where we're ticking along greatly, but if we're just looking at it as purely winning titles and major honors, there's a lot that we need to improve on the training ground, which is going in the right direction as much as bringing in people. Wahi for Nketiah would be the only thing that makes sense. Bring Wahi. If it's a summer thing, then we should just go all out for Osman. But you know, everybody's going to be there with Osman, and you have to be braced to get turfed, innit? We'd all love Barella at Arsenal. I don't think he's like Bruno Gomares. I think he's a fairly tenacious midfielder with a pretty underrated passing skill set. But I don't know if he'll correlate his ability in Brazil to in the Premier League. That would be perfect business. Nketiah and Tony loan deal, and then Nketiah plus cash in the summer if he's good enough. But Osman all day, I think we can go to another level with Osman. It would be lit. It would be great, man. Eddie loan to Brentford and Arsenal, and Tony loan to Arsenal would be perfect sense. But then surely you have to commit that extra 27 million in January to make sure David Raya's signing has now become permanent, because I'm not sure on the Premier League rules, but can you have 2 players on loan from a division rival? I don't know. Maybe. I know you can in Football Manager. I don't know about in real life, though. If you can, fair enough. Really and truly. I would have liked us to slowly transition Partey and Xhaka out and make them squad players that eventually permanently replace. That's what I would have liked, but we're at where we're at now, isn't it, really? Tony and Watkins are 28, but both are good for a few seasons. Oh, you can play for a while, man. DG always meant to ask the big forward that lays the ball off for the goal in your intro. Do you think he would do a better job than Eddie? He might be a good target man for crosses. I mean, obviously he's a Sunday League footballer, but big up Charlie. He plays for heavy hitters now, man. He's a fullback stream, you know. He works hard. He is a target man. He does pull into the channels. I'm not even going to lie. A couple of times he would pull into the left wing position when I've just bombed forward. I'm like, oh, I know I got to get back, but it's a Zinchenko thing, man. I'll get back for in the next occasion. The worst is as a fullback. Well, the best is as a fullback. Your manager's on the other side. You know you need to get back. I'll fully act like I can't hear. Guys were quick to pile on Odegaard at the start of the season. Deserves more credit. How he's able to evolve and offer whatever the game plan requires, contributing to all phases of play. I hear that, man. The centre-back market is not looking bad. Just depends on how proactive we can be. But are we going to get another one that, obviously in theory, you want competition, but are we going to sign a big-ticket centre-back? I'm quite doubtful, really. Maybe someone that's going to be in the Kyrgios role, but an upgrade. I don't think we're going to sign someone that's going to dislodge Gabriel or Saliba. Now, I'm not necessarily against that. I want the best players in all over, innit? I want a 20-man squad where, you know, we're good, because even though we've coped with injuries, you take a few of these fit players. If you take Saka out, Odegaard out, Declan Rice 100% out, you take Saliba or Gabriel out even, we're not quite, and that happens to every team, we're not quite the same side. So I'm not sure on the profile we'd be looking to bring in. DG is better than Trent. Get him a contract, Arteta plus if you want. Drinking Grealish, I'm that guy. I mean, I would love to be that man. Like, I wish I could be mentioned in the same realm as Trent. Am I crazy if I'm not fully convinced on Osman? No, I still think there's reservations, but therefore I'm onto him. Let's get Camavinga. But the dream is free. The hustle is sold separately. Who wouldn't want Camavinga, man? Would love to see Jesus in that second striker off. We get Tony/Osman. Amen. I think we might as well just do what City did with Jesus. He's a vital player. He's a key player. But we're not going to live or die by his ability to score goals. You can play up front. You can play out wide. You can do your, you even saw him against Brighton. He's dropping into the midfield positions. He's not really, he scored, but he's not really interested in scoring goals. It's not necessarily a strong point. Like, at some point, I think you need to accept footballers for what they are. The whole carrot initially for Jesus signing for the club was you're going to play up front. You're going to be the main man. You're going to do all that Gabriel Jesus stuff, plus now score goals. Now, for some reason, he hasn't got 20 league goals. Injuries might be a factor, but he's too good not to. We also have to learn from people who have done it. City have won Prems and treble and all of these things. Zinchenko and Gabriel Jesus were not key players like that. They were valued squad members. They got plenty of game time. They made the difference, but the team didn't live or die by their performances. I think we've got to probably get there. We have to, Zinchenko's 26. You're never going to be a great 1v1 defender. Let's just focus on your strengths and what games are required there. The same goes for Jesus and plenty of others, man. We need our own version of a Kanji can compete, but also available. That would be lit. But again, I don't think that the Akanji we're seeing now, it's a bit like Gucci Mane, isn't it? I don't think it's the same person. There's no way the Akanji at Manchester City is playing out of his skin and all them roles. There's no way that's the same Akanji from Dortmund. There's no way. They made him in the same lab they made Haaland, man. There's no way. Absolutely no way. Every time I hear someone say tequila now, instead of saying tequila, I say Saliba. Arsenal's in my blood. You're a madman. But there you have it. I like I don't know Truman. If you mean Thuram, then I think he's a decent midfielder. He's currently injured. And I was surprised he didn't move. I'm not giving up on the Thurams and the Manu Kones and all of them, but I don't think Arsenal are going for that sort of profile midfielder. Although when you see the Onana links, there you have it. For me, Jesus does the 10 quote. I think you mean the 10 role well, but he's never going to be a clinical striker. He's not. And if we're going to live or die by Jesus scoring goals, then we're in trouble, isn't it? And it's not fair to him. It's not fair to us. And arguably, we don't know the striker. He's still got time to be able to score goals, but with the experience and everything that Jesus has and how vital he was for City and Brazil and us now, you don't mention goal scoring. When he does score, he scores some effing fantastic finishes, but he doesn't score he doesn't get you 10 tap-ins, 15 tap-ins, which Haaland, Kane, they obviously score great goals, but the majority of the goals are just simple finishes. We have to accept Gabriel Jesus for this because he makes the easy finishes look difficult and the difficult finishes look easy. And I'm a big fan of Jesus. I think he's lit. I think he's a fighter. I think we'll be here all day. I like Jesus, but he's never been a bagsman like that. I hope, we wake up and he gets 20 league goals or things like that because I think he's got the potential to, he's got the ability to. But if you've never done it, I think the best he's got in the league is like 13, 14, 15 in a season at City. Don't know, man. But if it's not going to happen now, it's surely never going to happen really to a slight degree. But again, we just have to accept players for what they are. Terry, one love for subscribing with Amazon Prime once again. Over there on Twitch. Just see that on Twitch. So yeah. No, that's a Kanji's twin. No way that's the Dortmund one. It's not. The Dortmund one was like a poor man's Jamie Carragher in terms of own goals. Was like Bambi on ice. Was like Lokonga at centre half. Now my man's got Kane roles. He's playing in midfield, left back. He's looking lit. It's a lie, man. It's a Brazilian thing. Jesus always tries to make a finish look perfect or cross up some defenders. Sometimes you just got to smack. I just don't think he's a natural finisher. Like, I don't have any basis to go off this, but I think strikers are born. I have no evidence, as I said, but I think strikers are born. I think you're naturally born with that aspect. Of course, there's players that have learned to get better in front of goal. But Jesus isn't. If there's anything mediocre about Gabriel Jesus, it's probably him in front of goal. Everything else he does to a quality standard. So is it ever going to happen? I'm not sure. I like that left back that plays for Brighton, Estupiñán. I know he's injured at the moment. Could be a long-term solution for that position. He's decent, man. And you know what? If you're looking at Brighton players, you can't go wrong. Essentially, I don't think Jesus has that sixth sense. And a lot of it as well is because he's not really interested to a degree in just staying in the box, which I'm not saying you need to because it's a bit of a difficult job being a striker. Being a striker in football is great because you can be crap for 89 minutes. You score in the 90th, you get 3 points, you're a winner. Compare that to a goalie making saves for 89 minutes and then conceding. Nobody cares. But I do think it's an impossible job for a striker generally now in that You could be a guy that gets 20, 30 goals. People say, oh, but he ain't got 10 assists. His heat map is too central. He don't offer much. You could be someone like Gabriel Jesus, which isn't wrong, but you ain't got the goals. So where do you place it? I do think it's a bit of an impossible job being a forward, if I'm completely honest, in today's day and age. But it is what it is, man. I'm a fan of him. I think Arteta might go for Eric Garcia. He's looking lit at Genoa. So no for me, man. Big up Genoa. They're taking La Liga by storm. Maybe there's a bit of that tax. I mean, you could come and be a squad player, but, you know, you weren't really a main player at City. You're not a main player at Barca. Unless you know, Arteta is able to ask his ex-City people, you know, what sort of pills they're giving certain players, and he looks like a Puyol or even a Piqué. You're not talking to Saliba's position. So you can forget, but it's probably best you just stay at Genoa, really. I'm not really with it. I think he's a very good defender in terms of his anticipation and stuff, but in terms of the Prem being a bit rugged and aggressive, I think Eric Garcia can be got at. I think he's one of them that you probably have to stay in La Liga if you're going to be lit, really. I don't think he's a Prem centre-back. I think he'll be got at, man. I'd love to be proven wrong, though. You bring him to the club, he gets all the support. But, yeah, man. One thing I'm happy about this season is Odegaard playing deep. Bro, they called me a madman. You saw the videos. I said this is the vision. I said you might rob Odegaard of goals and assists, but naturally, this could be something close to Santi Cazorla. Odegaard is lit, man. You know, and that's a player I've backed. I know, and I'm so happy Odegaard's performing now, because I'm not going to lie, his first 6 months, it was very difficult to defend him because there's nothing to go off. But for me, I fall in love with them kind of players, man. I'm a Wenger baby. For a long time in my 28 years, Arsene Wenger was all I knew. You know, yeah, we had, you know, in the earlier part of my childhood, there was more physical-based players with the technical quality to match. Since the Emirates were more getting the 5'8", 5'7", at a push 6 foot creative demons. But yeah, I'm here for Odegaard, man. And I think he's scratched the surface. And for me, with Odegaard, you're at that level now where, like Arteta said, keep doing what you're doing. But how you played against Brighton, how you've played on a couple of occasions, that needs to be the benchmark, you know, in the same way that, of course, I love Saka, Saliba, Declan Rice, and how they perform, and we waffle about it. But them mans are performing at this high level all the time. It's not surprising. We're not shocked. We're not moved. When Odegaard performs like how he did against Brighton, I'm waxing lyrical. And for Odegaard, it's about doing that all the time now. Obviously, it's impossible, but you get the point. We should be looking at understudies for Saliba and Gabriel. The club probably are. I remember when people used to say Stones is a La Liga centre-back. Again, you can see my videos. Sometimes, I'm not going to lie, everyone gets things wrong, but I like to go on my YouTube channel from years ago, and obviously, you know, they condemn you at first. I remember saying, I wish more defenders defended like John Stones, seeing all the hate. I should be childish and reply to all of them. Odegaard dictating play from deep is beautiful to see. That would be lit. That is, you're right, man. If we could just find a Santi Cazorla regen, if we could find a younger Jorginho kind of guy with a bit of legs in the midfield, among the other things, we could have a decent squad, man. I mean, definitely during the Emirates era, when have we had a collective bunch of players that, like, we're actually quite fond of, and we don't like, there's not really crap players there. Like, obviously, Cedric, Lokonga, Tavares, you man are still technically employed by the club. Forget about it. But the rest are lit. Like, even people like Kivio, like, he's definitely not lit, but he's all right. And big Gabriel for his birthday again. Arsenal fans, we need to get a chant going for him. And also to some of you Arsenal fans out there, small section, I'll never forgive some of you lot for trying to say Pablo Mari is better than Gabriel. I'll never forget when people tried to run that agenda that Pablo Mari is the best defender at the club. Oh my God. I knew Pablo Mari was fraudy, man, because we're praising him for West Brom performances. And when he was more concerned with fixing up his hair versus defending against Lukaku at the Emirates, safe. Zubamendi is the one. Bring him. Odegaard, if he really wanted it, could be one of the best midfielders ever in this league. I mean, he could be lit. He's technically so amazing. Manny, he's lit. He's lit, but Kevin De Bruyne, Patrick Vieira, Paul Scholes, that we need to do it for years. But he's got age on his side. And if he wants it, I think him and a bunch of these players now, you've got a great platform. It's how bad do you want to be that? You know, you're good. Do you want to be elite? It's only you can. Obviously, the coaches will help you, but you've got to want to do that, if that makes sense. And I do think Odegaard, ever so slightly, we got to hit Jim a bit. It's not quite Fabio Vieira, but yeah. To be fair, Rojo, I don't know who said that about Rojo at Barca. That's harsh, man. He's not mid. But yeah, man, scout the players, you know. Again, we are linked with a lot of La Liga-based players, obviously, because Mikel Arteta is Spanish, but I would like us to dip into that. When Odegaard plays like how we did against Brighton, bro, it's a joy to watch, man. big up the Bulgarians, and bring the other J.Bellingham. I mean, the other Bellingham job. But it don't make sense, in my opinion, him leaving Sunderland. Like, it don't. Obviously, Arsenal is a sexy club. Chelsea and Liverpool the same. You know, there's going to be more competition. But you're playing more or less week in, week out at Sunderland. You're developing without... There's obviously expectations. You've got to perform. It's the professional game and stuff. But it doesn't make sense, you know. At 18 years of... Let me actually confirm. I'm not wassing this. At 18 years of age, at this moment in time, you've played 22 times for Sunderland. 45 games in the Championship. I always say, as a young player, you need to be looking at 100 career appearances. Are you going to play week 4 goals and 1 assist, by the way, in the Championship? Are you going to make anything close to that in the Premier? Is Bellingham... Are you going to get thrown in with Chelsea at this moment, or Liverpool or Arsenal fighting for a title? I don't know. Maybe I'm even mad, but love Odegaard as an 8. You're not mad. And it'll be nice if these lot can play. You know, Odegaard, you're a 10 all day of the week. But, you know, if you want to be an 8, or what I describe him as currently an 8.5, ultimately, the more roles you can play, the better. You know, I would love us to have different options in midfield. You know, you get that younger Partey model. You've got Declan Rice on Odegaard. You've got a bit of ruggedness there. There might be games where, you know, it's just 3 number 8s or a 10, or you don't really, maybe even Declan Rice gets dropped. We just need when Wenger used to just scumbag all of the attacking players into the point where Ramsey, Santi or Wilshere would be occupying some out wide position. There might be a game for that. We need, and I do think we've added a bit of variety into our team this year in terms of personnel and how we play. We just need to keep doing that. You know, Pep Guardiola, we've seen them play 3 at the back, centre backs in midfield. They've done great. We'll be here all day. I was saying it can be Odegaard's birthday every weekend. Big him up, boy. You know, he knew he had to show out on his birthday. That's the mentality I want. Odegaard just needs to start putting in constant performances, game in and game out. Amen. And obviously, I always try and look at the performance, but we do need our attacking players to keep getting goals in it, because at this moment in time, especially fighting for a league or going to the Champions League, Saka's the only one I kind of bet on to get a respectable amount of goals and assists. Obviously, I like Martinelli, but you and Odegaard was your first season for double figures. Jesus, we've spoken about. If there's one thing to criticize him, it's probably him not really being a consistent goal threat. Eddie can poach 1-2 goals, but you can't bet your money on him. Trossard and Havertz can chip in, but yeah, it's very volatile. There's a lot of unanswered questions, positives, but a lot of unanswered questions, in my opinion. As much as Odegaard and Saka link up, well, at times it's got too predictable. And now the further they are from each other, the better. That's why we're seeing a different Odegaard. I disagree a bit. I do agree on the predictable bit, though. Don't forget to like and subscribe. But yeah, man, like, it's all positive. I just hope we're all still this positive after the game on Saturday. Well, to be fair, I'm a bit pessimistic, because if we couldn't beat Liverpool last season at Anfield, when are we in it? And we've got to put in a performance against Liverpool ×2. I want to win at Anfield. We've got them early in the next year. I think we've got them in 2 weeks, actually, in the FA Cup. Want to beat them there. Of course, you would like to win 3 games against Liverpool. Easier said than done. I hope the Liverpool that played against Man United turns up at their place. But Klopp's going to want a reaction. The players are. The fans are. You know, it's going to be a bit of a different game. It'll be more open. In the same way, I think in football, when you play a team that you're better than, sometimes you can drop your level to them, which I think is the case with Liverpool versus United. Likewise, you can raise your performance when you're playing a better team. So we are going to get a very different Liverpool side. I hope to be wrong. I like Araujo, man. He's a good player, man. Very good player. I didn't think much of him when I used to watch Barcelona's youth games. Like, I thought he's a good player, but I didn't see him going to be able to do this. But quality player, I should have known. He's Uruguayan. The man there lit. But it is what it is. But on that note, though, people, it's been a fantastic hour and 3 minutes with you. Lots of opinions, comments, questions, differences of opinions, all of that good stuff. Shout out to you lot on Twitch and on Twitter as well as YouTube. Obviously, at the weekend, we're playing Liverpool, so I'll be doing a watch along. Typically, I think we kick off at 5:30 UK time, so I'll be live from 4:30. So yeah, people, man, you know, we'll be back here making content. Check out the rest of the other content. You lot stay blessed, stay safe. You know, 2023 is almost done, so I hope you lot move that much closer to your goals, hopes, dreams, ambitions, and aspirations. If you haven't subscribed, turn on your notification bells or hit the like button. What are you doing? And thank you to everyone who's done that. But for now, let me get out of here, man. Peace.
Against this right back, Charlie, definitely.
There's always just that active red flag defending. I think it's like